Good morning. Welcome to our second appointment with the presentation of the European book market statistics by the Federation of European Publishers, second of what I hope will become a regular appointment. And so I hope that you'll find it interesting and will be back with us next year. Just for those of you who don't know us, Federation of European Publishers is an umbrella organization. We represent 29 national associations of publishers of books, journals, and educational materials from 28 countries from all over Europe. So we collect data as best as we can from our members from all over Europe. And what you will see today is mainly the result of the collection, analysis, and refinements of the data that we gather. And then, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our president, Ricardo Franco Levi, who will say a few words of welcoming. Ricardo, prego.
Thank you, Enrico, and thank you to you all for being here for this important appointment. Enrico, in a couple of minutes, will give you the numbers and the statistics. Let me just spend a couple of words before that. We are engaged at FEP level, let's say, at a European level, to work as hard as we can with the help of all our national publisher associations, so as to gather comprehensive, updated, and reliable statistics on the European market. This both from the market data that are obviously important both to publishers, to media or commentators who want to understand better the evolution of the market, and last but not least, for public authorities to whom a correct knowledge of what the market is an indispensable prerequisite so as to establish and design appropriate public policies. This said, it's true for market data that are the easiest to collect, although probably saying easy, it's a rather queer word for describing the work that Enrico is doing every day. But this is true as well for reading statistics, that they are even more heterogeneous between countries. So one of the main objectives we are aiming to is to have a proper set of rules and definitions so as to collect data on reading. And this will be a further step of our collective work and of the European institutions as well that we call upon to help us in this important endeavor. Enrico.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. So, what do the data tell us? And as usual, remember my warning, do not trust anyone who pretends to have precise data on the book market, starting with me. I'm telling you a plausible story based on reasonable figures, that's all. But I think it is reasonable, I think it is plausible, and again, I think it gives at least a lot of food for thought. So first of all, what did we see in the year that finished, 2022, in terms of publishing turnover? We came from, well, this is the evolution in the last almost 20 years of publishing turnover. I'd like to do a bit of history because always to remember where we come from. We peaked at 24.5 billion euros of net publishers turnover. So that's the revenues of publishers without discounts, without taxes. And then came obviously the financial crisis. That's quite visible, but does it alone justify the sort of stagnation? Although, I mean, within certain limits that we experienced in the years after. Were there other factors that kept us from going back to the level of 2007? Was it digital? Was it Amazon? I don't know, but you might have ideas, and it'll be actually interesting to hear from you afterwards. Then turnover remained around 22.5 billion for a number of years. 2018, 19, in 19 especially, we were seeing signs of strong recovery, and then came COVID, which was not, however, as bad altogether for turnover as we feared at the beginning of 2020, when we thought that basically book publishing was going to be swept away. Ultimately, we calculated a -1% altogether in turnover in 2020, but, and I always stress that, it hides a myriad of different situations behind, and it introduced elements of fragility that we're still experiencing to this day. Nonetheless, we had a great rebound of turnover in 2021, plus 6.5%. That was the highest single year growth in the last 20 years. And still in 2022, we were feeling the effect of this rebound, and we estimated on average altogether in Europe plus 1.3%. But we'll see then, when we see individual country results, that this is once again the result of a very mixed picture. Another core data we collect is the number of new titles. It is always striking, I think, to think that you publishers, publish more than 500,000 different new titles every year. Of course, there's everything in there, there's in all the languages covered by our members. We try to clean up by format, so this in principle represents first editions in print, again, to be taken with a grain of salt. And what do we see? More or less steady growth, with a few exceptions, over the years, but an impact by COVID. We had reached 610, 605,000, and then a reduction of the number of titles. Clearly, first of all, due to COVID, a lot of projects had to be postponed or canceled, but maybe this also engendered a sort of rationalization, an idea maybe we can concentrate on slightly fewer titles, but try to push them a bit further. Again, I cannot prove or disprove any hypothesis, also up for discussion, up to you to share your ideas. Active catalog, oh, by the way, sorry, forgot to mention, more than 2.5 billion single copies of books sold in 2022, which is also absolutely impressive. I like to think the Europeans got into their hands or their devices more than 2.5 billion books last year. Almost 14 million different titles, again, in this case, in different languages and in different formats, are available for purchase all across bookstores and websites in Europe. More than 3 million of those titles are available in a digital or audio format. So again, there is a hell of a lot of choice. If someone tells you, I can't find anything to read, just tell them to look better, because there is a lot to read. This is the division of turnover by category, macro categories: educational books, academic, professional, consumer, trade books, so-called, and children's books. Well, education fluctuates mainly because of the cycles in the adoption of textbooks. Trade publications represent more or less half of the total turnover. And for a number of years now, we've seen, I think, the most interesting thing that emerged, the strength of children's books. Only in 2022, there was a slight decrease in the share, but they still around 15% of the value of book sales. And children's books who did particularly well during the pandemic, because of course parents wanted to spare their children from being in front of a screen all the time, at any time. So children's books have been a trusted value for the last years. Again, it's publishing is a sector that has a significant export share, and again, it goes around 20% more or less every year. In 2022, we saw again a return with the restarting of trade in general. Also, exports restarted quite strong, and again, the share of exports in publishing turnover went above 20%. Very interesting, turnover by distribution channel. We have a shorter time series here because we weren't able to collect that kind of data until a few years ago. And there, the impact of COVID is obvious. Sales in bookstores and specialized stores were around 50% in 2019, went down to 44 and 45% in 2020. Still, whereas online moved from 23 to almost 29%. Still, the effect of this phenomenon was felt in 2021 with a much smaller decline in sales in bookstores and a much smaller increase, but still an increase of online sales, probably within the error range. So let's say that online and bookstores were stable between 2020 and 2021, but now we see in 2022, and we see it with hope, I must say, a possible return to bookstores by readers. So bookstores go back above 45%, online sales return towards 26, 25%. We'll see also with the national data, this phenomenon is possibly a thing. Formats. I don't think you will be surprised to know that print books represent the vast majority of income altogether. Of course, there are huge differences among sectors, among genres, among countries, you name it. The Nordics are widely digitized. Sectors like scientific publishing are widely digitized, but all in all, print represents around 84% of revenues of publishers. Digital, 12-13%, and again, the reason why we're now talking about formats also since a couple of years, look at audiobooks. It might seem small, but it appeared on the map a couple of years ago. It was 2.5% of turnover in 2021. It's already more than 3% of turnover in 2022. Again, we'll see it with data at national level, growth in the double or triple digits. And one thing I know for sure, that's even an underestimation. It's just we cannot be really sure. It's hard to capture what goes through subscription models. It's hard to capture a lot of phenomena in digital, although it may sound counterintuitive. But I'm quite sure that the share of digital and especially of audio is underestimated. Biggest markets for turnover and for titles, the ranking is pretty much stable. Germany, UK, France, Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands are the biggest markets for turnover. UK, Germany, Spain, Italy, France, and Poland are the biggest markets in terms of titles produced. And now let's have a look at the individual countries' performance in 2022 and the beginning of 2023. And here is where I also take the opportunity to invite everyone from a country that is in gray in that map to tell your publishers, tell your association, we need to get our act together and be on Enrico's map, because that makes him very, very happy. And also because this, as Ricardo was saying, is our window. These are the eyes through which we see our sector, through which the others see us. We need to know ourselves also to get the attention and the support that the sector deserves. So how did the market perform in 2022 compared to 2021? We see a mixed picture. Some countries growing, some countries going down, but even France with a minus 5.8%, our French colleagues tell us that they're not too unhappy because 2021 was so good that the minus 5.8% in 2022 still isn't a catastrophe. Same for the minus 1.5% for Italy, nowhere near the increase that there was the year before. Many other markets recovering. Slovenia, you'll see, Luckily, I got Slovenian data, guest of honor. The government, I was told, introduced a temporary culture voucher, which explains the extraordinary results that you will see for Slovenia across the slides. It's also a testimony that it's always good to stimulate people to read more, also through initiatives like cultural vouchers. Print books, 2022 versus 2021. Here you see already, for example, in Nordics, the fact that either growth, where there's growth, is digital, or digital is holding somehow the boat together. So print books doing all right, but in some cases you already see a difference. Ebooks in the last year going down, although in some cases this is due again to difficulties in capturing. Maybe revenues are shifting towards subscription models rather than unit sales, so it becomes more difficult. Audiobooks still growing strong, even in the double digits. These are sales in bookshops. This is where we get some glimpse of hope in many cases. Again, not in the Nordics, where sales are really mainly digital. The growth is mainly in digital, but otherwise people seem to be going back to bookshops. And reverse of the coin, online sales of print books, so not digital sales as such, in most cases went significantly down, again, except for Slovenia, where the cultural voucher was usable clearly also online. Online sales going down in 2022 almost across the board. Now, obviously, we have to make the comparison with 2019 as well, and I'm checking that I don't we're doing good. Obviously, we have to compare also with the last normal year, although I hope that at some point we start calling years normal again, at least when it comes to the book market. And this is where I think we have some good news. Pretty much everywhere where we have data, sales in 2022, revenues in 2022 were higher than in 2019. So the turnover has recovered from the hit of the pandemic, and also in many cases with significantly good results. So 2022 compared to 2019, all green, and as usual, I dearly hope none of you is colorblind. These are all shades of green, just in case. Print book sales, more mixed picture. As I was saying, in the Nordics, sales in the past few years have been strong really in digital. Hence, print books not doing so well in most of the Nordics, except for Norway for some reason, but still in the green in all the main continental markets, and to an extent in the UK as well. And have a look at the sales of audiobooks, double or triple digit in 3-4 years. More than doubled in Denmark, more than trebled in Finland, pretty much doubled in Germany, almost trebled in Italy, almost doubled in Norway. This, well, again, I don't think I'm saying anything extremely surprising to you, but the data confirm the perception that audiobooks are really a huge phenomenon these days. The bit of possibly bad news because as publishers, we treasure having a healthy and rich network of independent bookstores to sell our books. So the fact that in many markets, sales in bookshops have not recovered yet to the level of before the pandemic, that is worrying for us. Of course, it's nice to be able to sell books, but it's even nicer to be able to sell books through a good and healthy network of bookstores. So we look forward to, in the coming years, if this return to bookstores continues, to see also sales in bookshop going back to the green. And again, reverse of the coin, massive increase in online sales, almost everywhere. Again, as you see, the availability of data shrinks the more into detail you go, but you get the feeling sales online, obviously, between 2019 and 2022 have skyrocketed. And now what have we seen so far in 2023? Here you see it. We have data from any time from February to September, according to the countries. Once again, the picture is mixed. You have countries like Spain and Portugal. Portugal doing quite well, but Portugal was one of the countries that really were hit the hardest by the pandemic, so they're still catching up. Other markets doing all right. Italy pretty much even, but you also know that we'll only really know after the Christmas sales. So that's coming up, and that can turn the tables completely. I like just to stress a bit the result of Germany, because Germany was one of the countries that caught up the last with the results of 2019. Actually, let me go back for a second. And you see Germany, which is by far the largest market in Europe, is also one where 2022 only slightly outperformed 2019, and until 2021 it still was below altogether the level. So we're observing that with a bit of concern, because again, Germany is really by far the largest market, and if things continue like that, also Germany should be able to catch up with the results of the pre-pandemic levels. So, these are the data. Just 2 words on trends that we see. I'll just name them because, of course, the figures, again, hide a number of different situations behind, and we have to see what the impact will be there from, as I said, the lingering effects of the pandemic in the distribution channels to the phenomenon that we see of books in English being very significant in sales in many countries where English is not the national language, to the phenomenon of book talk, which is striking because, as we always say, there's a Chinese social media is bringing basically teenagers back to bookstores to buy and show print books, which is quite a nice combination of factors. There's the rise of audiobooks and the omnipresent artificial intelligence, which again, the only thing I can say is that we have no idea yet what it is going to bring, but it opens many possibilities, and I say it in the most neutral way because the potential for good but also for bad for the sector is really hard to imagine. With that, I thank you very much for your attention. Hope you appreciated it, and we even have a few minutes for questions. Thank you very much. Suppose there's a microphone around. Anyone has any? I don't see, also because there's a thing exactly in my eyes, so I have no idea whether anyone is raising their hand. Maybe, I guess not. I'll take, is there? Yeah, sorry, I seriously, I can't see anything. There you go.
Hi, Enrico.
It's you.
Yeah.
So, I seriously don't see.
Yeah. So I saw your fantastic figures. My only question is that do you see the readership base itself is increasing because audio numbers looks double-digit or triple-digit growth? So is it a cannibalization effect, or it's a whole market itself, it's growing, so the readership base itself is growing?
There's a bit of both. It's probably still too small a part to drive by itself the market, but it's doing, and at the same time most markets have been doing well, but it's segment is doing well, I think, more or less independently from the overall. So sometimes it accompanies the general results. Sometimes it's a bit counter cyclical.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Can you say something about popular science books, or were they included in the academic publishing sector?
So they would. Popular science, I expect. Well, we first of all, you see, we don't get to the level of granularity, so they are in there somewhere, but it's very difficult for us to go so deep so as to single out that kind of genre. It probably people from Nielsen will be who monitor sales at the point of sales will be able to go into that level of detail. With us, I would think they go into in some cases it might go into trade because it's something that you find in normal bookstores. It could also go under academic, but I think popularization of science is rather something that you find for a broader public, so it would be part of the trade. But again, only few countries monitor sales at association level with that level of detail, so it's probably much more likely to find that kind of to find answers to that kind of question from Nielsen or other market monitoring organizations that go into individual points of sale. I don't see anyone else. Well, I don't see very much anything. So once again, thank you very much. And well, two things: tell everyone who can contribute to the data collection to do so, because I think it's important for us and it's also interesting. And see you next year. Here might even be at the same time. We'll let you know enough in advance. Thanks again. Have a nice day. Bye.